Welcome back to another spill drop tutorial. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to build the Super Forge Volume 3. The concept of this build is to include as many furnaces as possible into a single 1x1 cube. Now, my previous design utilized 22 electric furnaces. The new design is going to fit 24. I'm very excited to go ahead and get straight into it, and I'm going to show you exactly how the Super Forge Volume 3 comes together. Now, to save us a little bit of time in the video, I went ahead and laid out the electrical grid here in advance. With this particular grid, I did leave the first connection off so that we can make that connection together, and it'll be a little bit easier for you going forward. I wanted to build this out in advance because this is a very tedious process, as you can imagine, but if you have any questions, please do leave those in the comments. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to be laying out these electric furnaces. We're going to be building them into an automated system that allows for input of raw materials and output of cooked materials. You can build a system like this into your base and automate it so that you don't even have to think about it once it's started. You can see up here we've got some combiners. Now the purple is going to be output, so that'll be raw materials. The blue is going to be input, so that's going to be cooked materials. And then this green pipe here is going to be a little bit of overflow so that the system doesn't get too backed up. Now up here you see the combiners connect, so output connecting here to a single output node that will connect over here in just a little bit. And then the input is going to allow for you to expand this system in the future. Let's go ahead and get these first placements down. Now I've left everything twig here because it's important to make sure that these placements are as tight as possible, and to do that we're going to want to use a wall texture that is the right thickness. Now every wall in Rust has a slightly different thickness. If you navigate around the base, you get a little bit of a different view for what things kind of stick. You'll notice that wires kind of float off of this shipping container skin a little bit, whereas they'll be more flush for other skins. Specifically in this build, we want the standard stone wall here, but we want the hard side facing in. That's going to be the slimmest wall that Rust has to offer, the absolute skinniest texture that you can build against currently. Now visually, the shipping container skin is actually thinner, like it looks much thinner than the stone skin looks, but if you're trying to place against these shipping container skins, you just can't get quite as close. Even the electrical components up there, as you can see, float off the surface of the wall. That lets you know that placements are going to be not quite as tight as you think. So we want to get all of these walls up to stone and then hard side facing in. We can go ahead and get the shelf up to stone as well, and then we're going to want to get these first placements as shown. Alright, that's a pretty good fit there. Now let's go ahead and get the adapter on the front here. You're going to want to put the adapter there and then get your second furnace placed. Get it as tight up against the wall as you can. Place down there. Make sure it looks good. Excellent. Put a little adapter on the front there. Okay, and then we want to squeeze this last one in here. We want to turn it so that the dials are facing us. You can fit that adapter on the side there. Now let's go ahead and get the top row down as well. With these placements, it can help to put down a little triangle shelf back here, so that way you have something you can kind of stand on to make sure that you get these as cozy as they can be. Beautiful. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Squeeze that guy right in. Adapter on the front, and then the final furnace for this row. All the way in like so. Looking great. We can still put the adapter on the side there. And then let's go ahead and flip this wall while we still have access to it. And you may even want to just upgrade it. Another thing you're going to want is an igniter. Now this is going to allow you to restart the system after a server reset. So if server resets, all of these are going to turn off. You'll need to reset them to the on position when the server restarts, and having an ignition switch is a very good way to do that. So just pay attention, because this will save you a lot of time and stress. Go ahead and take just a regular pink wire here. And you're going to want to do that on the top row as well. Just to make sure that these work, you want to go ahead and see if the top one does. Yep, there we go. All right, let's go ahead and get these furnaces wired in, because you want to get the furnaces wired in row by row. That way you don't miss out on reaching these nodes. They can be a little tough to reach down the line. Let's go ahead and get that taken care of here. Let me use red. All right, we'll get those turned off for now, so that way we can get them all wired in. And once the system is fully wired in, you'll be able to see how these ignition switches work. Let's go ahead and just get these all wired in here. You'll see how it goes. It's pretty much the same as that. All right, those should be wired into the system here. This is the last of the branches in the order. It's powering these 3 electric furnaces up here that are currently off. Let's go ahead and hit this ignition switch, make sure that it works. So it kicks these on. They have all the power they need. They just need to be ignited. That's what the igniter up there is for. It can reach these furnaces way back here that are going to be impossible to reach any other way. Now let's go ahead and get them piped into this system as well. Okay, we're going to do purple as the input for this system, of course, and we want to make sure that the system is fed from the jump, so that way as we keep adding furnaces to the system, it continues to be fed down the line. So let's go ahead and start with this industrial in as the first for our circuit, since it's the first one that has any power in this system. Something to keep in mind as you're getting the plumbing set up for these is that as you add the door frames into an equation such as this, it can be difficult to navigate around the piping. So you may want to put down a temporary door frame as you go, but that way it allows you to lay the piping down without having to worry about not being able to put a garage door to seal all this in. Alright, now just to double check, let's go ahead and demolish this frame, and sure enough, we can still place it. So that's great. That means we should be able to upgrade this down the line, and it won't damage the piping, and it'll still allow the system to be automated. That's good to know. Now let's go ahead and get this thing fully connected. We're going to go ahead and switch it to the blue for the output, since now this is all output feeding from one to the other in a horrible industrial furnace centipede type sense. With that, we have the top row incorporated into the automated system as well as the electrical grid. Let's go ahead and get the bottom row connected to the electrical grid here before we move on. We're going to go ahead and get the entire second row wired in here as well. And by second row, I mean the first row on the bottom. Alright, now at this point I think it's safe to go ahead and show you how to connect this grid of splitters into the actual overall power bank for the circuit. So power's coming in from this counter here, following this purple wire into this first branch. Now we want to connect this splitter to this branch in a way that allows us to control how much power goes into the splitter and lets all the extra power that we don't need go into the rest of the circuit. And I'm going to show you how that works. We're going to take a yellow wire, like we've got going on here with all these other splitters. I'm going to draw from the power in on this splitter here, straight up over just a touch, and then up to the branch out node that we've got on this first electrical branch. Now the power going into this system again is coming from this counter here. So there's 100 rust watts per minute going into the counter, 99 coming out because it obviously uses one, of course, into this branch. Now we've set this branch so that 10 rust watts per minute will go through the branch node. So if we're looking at this electrical branch here, you can see there's a branch out and then a power out. Now you can control how much power goes through the branch, then all remaining power is going to go through the power out, as you can see here. So the splitter is getting 10 rust watts per minute, which is just enough to power the splitter itself, and then 3 rust watts per minute through each of these power out nodes. So that'll keep these electric furnaces on down here as long as there's power to the system. And then take the power out node from the first branch and plug it in to the power in for the second branch. Set the branch to split 10 rust watts per minute off to the second splitter here, and the remainder will go out the power out branch. So you see here, it goes from 88 rust watts per minute from the first branch to 77 rust watts per minute on the second branch, and then the power out continues to decline as you move through the circuit. And you basically just place all these the exact same way, power them in. You go from power out to power in, branch to splitter, splitter to electric furnaces. The only other deviation is when you get to the very end where you take the power out and you plug it into these conveyors. But fortunately for you, these conveyors have a pass-through node which allows any extra power to go from the conveyors into whatever else you want to connect it to, which in this case would be the next conveyor. You take the electrical pass-through from this first conveyor, plug it into the power input for the second conveyor, and then I took the electrical pass-through from the second conveyor and put it into this counter, which then in turn goes down into the battery system and the turret. We've connected this conveyor to the automated system attached to these electric furnaces. Now we need to connect this conveyor to a container of some sort. Let's go ahead and keep that purple theme alive here. Just like so, we have raw materials flowing from these barrels in here into this combiner, which then flows into the conveyor up there and into these electric furnaces. Now we're going to want to connect these as well, but I'll show you exactly how we want the automation system to work for these. Let's go ahead and get these connected from out to in, like so. With this row, it's nice to have a good skin for the floor tile that you're working on. So as you can see, there's a nice little line on the floor here with this texture that makes it easy to kind of figure out where that placement is going. That'll help you get it as far up against that wall as you can. And then of course, this one here. Now that we've got this second row of furnaces in, we want to connect the automated portion together. Go ahead and keep with the theme. Take industrial out from the second row to the industrial in on the back row there. And once that's connected, you want to go ahead and make sure you get this back connector here, the output connected down and over to this middle furnace on this side here. We'll go industrial out from this one here to this furnace. That way you can continue to go from this far furnace over to this middle furnace and connect this left furnace to the one next to it. And we'll get them wired in. We're going to go ahead and take the industrial in from this top row. And we're going to need to connect it to the industrial out from the back row. It's a little bit different between the top and the bottom. Make things a little bit more complicated, of course. And then we're going to want to go industrial out, of course, over to the middle and up to the industrial in. And then the industrial out to the industrial in once again. And with this, we can carry on this same exact design with each row that moves forward. Alright, industrial out to the in, and then the out, down, over, in, out, down, over, in, like so. And just like that, we have all of these rows so far wired in. Let's go ahead and get these guys turned on. Should just be the row all the way at the back that's turned on down here in the bottom. Industrial out from the back row, down over and across, and into the front row here. right, that top row is wired in. Now that leaves us with 2 rows that are left to be connected. As you can see, there are 2 splitters that are yet to be connected as well, so everything is looking pretty good so far. Okay, so we're gonna get this last row in here. When you've got the frame in, it can help you kind of eyeball how these go in. The bottom row may need to go at a slight angle to make room for that frame when you place it, so just keep that in mind. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of the frame and put that one in there. Frame still work? It does. Beautiful. And then up here, let's go ahead and get the shelf in temporarily again. Like I said, these ones can be a little bit more fast and loose. Still check that this still works. It does. Beautiful. That on like so. All right. Now this far side is a little tricky. The bottom furnace is not so bad. It has a floor to support it, but the top furnace does need a little bit of extra room. If you try to put it facing out like this, even as far back as you can go, and you delete this shelf, it'll break. You don't want that to happen when you've just crafted an electric furnace. They are not cheap. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put this facing the last furnace that you placed. It might even be necessary to place an additional level for your shelf here so that you've got the room to do this. Back as far as it'll let you go. Make sure again that you check that you can place your frame, because you want to make sure you can still get those frames in. And then you can go ahead and get the adapter on. Now this one you should be able to place just facing you as far up against the adapter on this one as you can, and then you can get an adapter either on the side or on the front. I'll go ahead and stick it on the side, might as well. Okay, now make sure the frame still works. It does. Excellent. And let's just do the same down here to be consistent. Frame still works. Excellent. Adapter, furnace, adapter. Let's go ahead and make sure we get these all piped together the way that they need to be. I'm going to take the industrial out from this furnace, down, over, and up to the furnaces behind it. Now, this is an in port that we're going to need to take from this top row, and this out port is going into our output conveyor. The cooked ore from this full system going into this piping system here through the blue piping and into these boxes. Let's go ahead and get this top shelf connected as well. And now we connect the top row to the bottom row. So we take the industrial out from the top row. We want to go down here to the shelf. Now, the top row and the bottom row are connected. We're going to take the bottom row and we're going to connect it to the output conveyor, like so. Then we're going to connect the industrial output for this full furnace cube, the full system, into these barrels over here through this combiner that's then going to split them respectively into their final destinations. You can adjust these conveyors. So you go here, hold E on them, adjust the filter, and then you want to add items to convey into the system, such as sulfur ore, metal ore, high quality metal ore as well. So those will move from the drop boxes you've got over here into this conveyor and into these furnaces. And then from here, you'll take the cooked materials, which will be sulfur, fragments, high quality metal, from these furnaces and out into these output barrels. And that's it. That's how the entire system works. Let's get these turned off. Get a door frame on here. Slap a garage on the front of it, like so. Oh, it's beautiful. So you can see all these are turned off right now. I want to go ahead and get them wired in. Alright, and that's everything wired in. As you can see, the only ones that are turned on still are the ones that are far, far away at the back there. The top layer is turned off fully to the back. These ones may or may not ignite, but they're right here in the front, so if you need to turn them on manually, you can do that. Now, go ahead and get a door on here. and they're all tucked away, so it's not as noisy as you would otherwise expect. Once you open it, of course, that sound bleeds through. Let's go ahead and put some ore in these boxes. You can see that it's already taking ore from this barrel, smelting it, and then bringing it back to this barrel. It is working super fast. All of these are slowly filling up all the way across. And that is the Super Forge Volume 3. 24 electric furnaces automated here into a perfect circuit. I don't know if I'm going to push it any further than this. I don't know if there's anywhere else to push it. If you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments. But otherwise, I'm Spilldrop. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.